Habitat, Guru Nanak Dev University, to celebrate the World Town Planning World. Just excuse me. Yeah. This webinar is organized by the Center for Sustainable Habitat, Guru Nanak Dev University, to celebrate the World Town Planning Day 2022. The World Town Planning Day is celebrated on each 8th November in 30 countries on 4 continents. It is a special day to recognize and promote the role of planners and planning in creating healthy and prosperous communities. World Town Planning Day was initiated in 1949 by the late Professor Carlos Maria della Foilera to advance public and professional interest in planning, both locally and abroad. This day presents an excellent opportunity to look at planning from a global perspective. Uh, with the background of the day or the importance of today's day, now I request Professor Dr. Ashwini Luthra, Coordinator Center for Sustainable Habitat, to welcome the distinguished speaker of the webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gusharan. It is a pleasant moment that this time we are holding this town planning day, or we are celebrating this town planning day, where the theme is think global and act local, and it is where especially we have taken one topic. Dr. Gusharan, can you mute yourself? Yeah. So we have taken a very pertinent topic for today's talk, that is inclusivity and accessibility, because generally as planners, once we are planning for the settlements, this particular aspect is not taken due care. And probably this is one of the aspects that we need to undertake, because nowadays, whichever policy is coming at the international, at the national level, it is saying for all. And once we say for all, it means all the human beings on earth, or all the inhabitants of urban as well as rural areas. And I would love to thank Dr. Renu in particular for being our chief guest, for accepting our request to be our chief guest. And I would thank Mr. Parul also, who associated Dr. Renu with us. And on this occasion, I would love to listen. I beg to say this, that Dr. Renu is not from planning fraternity, but she is touching a topic which is very near to the planning discipline. So I welcome and invite Dr. Renu on this webinar, and on this occasion, I welcome all the participants from across the globe who are present here, or who are watching the YouTube channel, because this particular webinar is live on the YouTube also. Thank you very much for sparing your time for this webinar, and without taking much time, I would request Dr. Gursharan to take over and introduce today's distinguished speaker, so that we can listen to her views on this occasion. Thank you very much, one and all.
So today we have very eminent scholar with us. She is Professor Dr. Renu Malviya. Welcome, ma'am. She is a professor at the Department of Education at Lady Irwin College, University of Delhi, and she has been the former head of department. She has been the Secretary All India Women's Education Association, besides being the partner from Prikarma, India as well, Academic Director for Voice for Ability. With a master's degree in child development, and doctoral work on family school interaction from Jawaharlal Nehru University, she has over 35 years of experience in teaching, in-service training, research, and extension. She has been associated with projects by CARE, Save the Children, UNFPA, ILO, UGC, NCERT, University of Delhi, University of Edinburgh, Scotland, King's College London. Beside 25 books from academics, she has published books on bibliotherapy. She has contributed chapter to 25 books and modules. She has presented paper at national and international conferences. A RCI certified special educator, a mental health professional, CBSE certified master trainer. She was advisor to the Commissioner of Disability, member mental health counseling team, University of Delhi, equal opportunity cell, EU, and trainer of trainees with expertise in intergenerational bonding, life skills, parenting, pedagogy, mental health, gender capacity building, and disability studies. She contributes as an expert to various bodies such as NCERT, SCERT, NIEPA, NTA, CBSE, ICSE, various universities, colleges, and schools. She was actively involved with the Equal Opportunity Center of University of Delhi and with disability studies. She has been extensively involved in the process of development of procedures for not only enrollment but retention and empowerment of persons with disabilities, with special reference to specific learning disabilities at the University of Delhi. Her national webinar series on disabilities are well received across India. She has initiated a YouTube channel on content related to understanding disability, pedagogy, and parenting. She is being recognized for her social work in the areas of human-animal interface, particularly with street animals, especially since the COVID pandemic and afterwards. So, on behalf of Center of Sustainable Habitat, GNDU, I welcome you, ma'am, and we all are looking forward to you and for your topic you are going to deliver. Welcome, ma'am.
You so much for putting me on such a big pedestal, Dr. Kaur. I do not come from the fraternity that is listening to me. So I come with a different baggage of, would I call it knowledge or whatever. So please pardon me as and where I'm not appropriately using the terminology that might be used in your field. But at the same time, been working in the area of disability for so long and being associated with audits of disability in different parts of the different institutions, etc. I will try to put my perspective there across to you people. Before I do that, we have with us Malika Bajaj. And may I give, with the permission of the entire team, Dr. Luthra, Dr. Kaur, and everyone else who's part of this team, Dr. Sharma, I can see here, may I give over the mic for a short while to Malika Bajaj to tell us her insight into what it feels to be disabled. She was temporarily disabled and on a wheelchair for some time. Over to Malika.
सत श्री अकाल टू एवरीवन, आप सबको वाहेगुरु जी अपनी कृपा में बनाए रखें. एंड ऑफ कोर्स आई थिंक बिफोर आई प्रोसीड आई हैव अ ह्यूज thank you to Parul and Dr. Renu and the university for even allowing me, because I genuinely feel on his birthday Babaji has gifted me this opportunity to be with all of you all, prepared me for the last few months for this first talk I'm having on disability. And because I fell in his presence, I fell at the Bangla Sahib. I'd gone for a quick visit to just say hello to him, and I ended up slipping by the pond, and I broke my tailbone. I injured my glute. I spent months being bedridden because of my lumbar sacrum strain. I'm still in pain as I speak with you, but I'm healing, which is why I want to request all of you all who are watching to join me in a quick activity, so that you can experience with me or what this talk is going to be about. So everybody listening, can I request you to hold your hands up? knock them in. I can't see all of you, but I'm trusting you to do this with me because this is really important. Lock your fingers, squeeze your thumb inside as hard as you can, and then try and bend your wrists towards the inside. And you keep bending till you can induce pain. And I would request you to hold this, bring it closer to your elbows till I tell you to. It is a request, and I'm sorry I'm inducing this pain, but it is important that you experience with me the pain and the discomfort in its most basic, slightest form, because right now, all of you all know that this is temporary. And even then, I'm sure I'm very frustrating when I do this to you. And that is the nature of disability, the pain, the psychological and the physiological, sometimes both that come with it, that will not allow you to even focus at what I'm saying. I'm talking to you and you can't hear me. You're trying, but it's paining. And that is why we fail every single time. We're trying, but we fail. The pain hurts. It's sometimes in the backdrop, it's sometimes in the foreground. It's sharper with every breath. It is just painful. And before I proceed, I'm sorry, but please release your hands and thank Babaji for this great health that you have and this gift you have. And I hope that it helps you learn that disability alone is complicated. And with the added multiple man-made variables, it is harder. And one of the most hardest parts is that it is disempowering with disability because we're not providing inclusivity. As I think Sir mentioned right at the start, we do have policies now, but we're still on the go. We're not there yet. Number two, education for disability. And we witness the lack of it commonly when you experience even basic forms of communication. Your facial expressions change, your tone suddenly changes. You're suddenly treating a person with disability with like they're a baby, like they're dependent, and that like your eyebrows squinch. Everything changes when you're talking to someone who is trying to forget their pain when they're with you. They're, even if it's temporary, they know, but they're trying. And then we ask them questions, even if sometimes people are concerned about their questions. A lot of people will be like, always now. I mean, it is because that these people talk like this that education for disability is important, because you cannot talk to someone and constantly remind them of their pain, because that is what we're trying to forget when we move on. We are in pain, we know that, but when you only talk to us about that, sometimes people will only make that the entire conversation. They don't even know why I'm out. Maybe I bring more to the table, maybe I'm there with a purpose, but they look at me slightly different from them and they will make that face, and that is the end of any conversation because they walk away from us. Apart from that, which is fixable, the other thing is also continued and advanced education and employment opportunities for those with disability remain unaddressed. You and I understand that it is required, but our approach is more often than not very condescending. Our attitude towards them is, yeah, we've done it now, it's on our rolls, we're doing everything we can. But we're not. It is not accessible. We do not have provision for education that is accessible apart from traditional education of coming to school, or we do not have, even in private and public sectors, employment opportunities, affirmative actions, incentives to bring back these people after rehabilitations, or like return to work policies. Our infrastructure is inadequate primarily because of our attitude towards the disabled, and that is a lot of it is to do with our education. But then it also takes me to my next point, which is we mistake their basic human rights. And I'm saying there, and I am so grateful when I can say there, because while I was on the wheelchair and being bedridden and injured, I'm still there. I still can't travel on an Uber. I have to lie down in a car and move. But my doctors have promised me that I'm going to move, and I'm sitting now in front of all of you after 8 months. This is the first time I'm sitting for as long as I am now. I haven't been able to sit for more than 10 minutes in the last 8 months. But I'm doing this, I'm putting my pain behind. But we mistake their basic human rights, our basic human rights, because we put disability in the charity and the corporate social responsibility department of life. which then we witness. And I'll tell you why I'm so confident when I say this, is because all of us here, irrespective of which generation we belong to, which country we come from, and I know that all of us are primarily Indian, but all our YouTube followers who are watching us, all of us in school in primary grade have been taught, allow yourself to help someone visually impaired or differently able cross a street if you see them and do a noble deed. But this chapter is incomplete. Am I noble if I do it once and then for the rest of my life, when I'm doing my usual routine, crossing the road, running to a train, running to catch a flight, I'm literally jumping across a wheelchair person? I'm coming in their way, I'm blocking their passage. I don't care if there is a blind person next to me, a hearing impaired person next to me, someone could have had mental health issues, someone could have broken a limb. I could not walk. It was very scary to be at a train station or even to cross a road because I am slow and everybody is honking. And even if they don't know, just a slight, that when you can hear that and you realize that you're stopping someone from being as fast as they can possibly be because you are slow, is a very scary feeling. And that is because we have been taught that differently able people can do with your help, and that makes you a better person once, even if you do it once. No, but we need to teach them that this is the movement, the freedom of movement is my basic human right. I should be able to access
So,
all these transport areas.
Uh,
Sorry,
so
do you want
wonderful. Thank you, Malika, for giving us the base for on what we are going to be working on today for the next 45 minutes. Right. And Malika, please keep adding if you need, or anyone else. Being a professor myself, I'm always in for people interacting in between, because that makes you understand which direction you're taking. So may I just share my slide, and a very warm welcome and congrats to the entire fraternity here, the urban planners of today and the future, for on World Town Planning Day. And I am just trying to put my slide forward here. I hope my slide is visible.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I mean, it would have been so much better if we could have had a whole day. And then not only Malika, but others could actually talk about the pain, the difficulty that goes with a person who is disabled, even temporarily, like Malika has been just now. Thank you, Malika, so much for giving us this insight. And as we move forward, what I'm trying to do is, as I've been asked, probably I have 45 minutes. Am I right, Dr. Kaur and Dr. Ashwani, that I will be able to, I get about 45 minutes to finish this entire session?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
Okay. So here, when we are talking about the target group, and as Malika said just now, the urban planners, the local bodies, the designers, the contractors, and everyone else, as people from the area of disability and disability studies, etc., it's not something that everyone's not aware of, that disability people with disability constitute about 15% of the entire population. So that's quite a large number. And when we're talking about this large number, it's not visible. And there's also that other large number, which is going to be temporarily handicapped. There will also be that particular number, which makes a large constitution of our Indian population, the seniors, the elderly, who will gradually go into areas of disability. It could be physical disability, it could be visual, it could be hearing, and it could be also what is called the neurodevelopmental disability, which doesn't mean that your brain starts working less. We have, as of now, all these type of things. I don't know, some of us here seniors, after the COVID, have been going through what is called the brain fog. So suddenly you do see that light there, but it's taking you more time to register whether it is red or green. I was having an interaction with Parul the other day. I think the lighting systems have been changed because in part of the city where I am, the green light and the seconds which go with it are now in green. So I was just thinking, who has done this? Wonderful, because the green and green is good for the person who thinks differently as compared to all of us. Now, these are the people. These are the physically handicapped people with physical disabilities, people with sensory disabilities. It's called visual, hearing impaired, physically handicapped. It's visible. But there is also this entire number which is hidden disabilities. So when we are talking about ICT,
Dr. Renu,
yes.
sorry to interrupt you. Your slides are not moving.
No, I wasn't moving it as yet.
Okay, thank you
I
very
wasn't
much.
moving it.
Thank
Right. So all these people are part of the entire gamut which this target group, I would like to get them to start thinking about it. It's already part of your syllabus. Here comes in that the module that we're going to talk about today will focus upon physical environment, transportation, information communication. And as I said, it's not only persons with disability, the elderly who have handicapping situations, the children who might, infant who has issues or reduced mobility that might have emerged. So our first module talks about eliminating barriers, standard guidelines for universal accessibility in policy and planning. As urban planners, as planners in all capacities, we are very aware. At this point, I'm just sort of gelling with you and calling myself also as a component of your group, and I'll use the term we. But actually, I may have my limitations when it comes to terminologies and many other aspects. So when we're talking about poverty and disability and the town planning or accessible, uh, inclusive cities. So we have this 15% plus maybe 10, 20%, so 25% easily, because the planning has limit, not the planning, the implementation, the further modifications as and when required, the retrofits, etc. If it is not carried out effectively, it leads to disabling situations, and the disabling situations is creates poverty. Poverty further creates disabling situations. The metro in Delhi, where I come from, are very inclusive, very accessible. But as soon as you step out, the person on the wheelchair steps out of the metro, there will be a big gap between the road, not a big gap, maybe it is only 6 inches, maybe it is just 1 little foot gap in between. The wheelchair cannot move over. So who is late for their office? Because of the travel chain break. The disability creates situations where the job is hampered. And so we come here so we're talking what I've said in the earlier slide, the persons with disability and the cycle of poverty. When Malika spoke about the dignity of the self, this is not from, I've taken this from the Google, and this could be from any part of the world, including my country, India. Look at the loss of dignity. A person after this, can she or he be an effective in the job that they have got? They could be highly intelligent or whatever. What about this professor here? Do you see? There, just because of the non-appropriate structure of this particular wonderful auditorium, at first sight, it looks so very nice. And this is what it leads to. It automatically, we are removing those 15 to 25% of people who can be highly contributing members of society and putting them inside, I mean, we're removing them from the mass areas of our city. And why this was at the moral, at the level of, where one feels socially uncomfortable, that, oh, this is what's happening. To support them at the global level, also we have a mandatory laws now, which percolate into the laws of the country. So WHO 2011 has spoken about equality, human diversity, and accessibility, the World Bank. The United Nations Convention for the Rights of Persons with Disability, which is in short called UNCRPD 2006, and in India is a signatory to this. So all our laws are also further moving on from there, has clearly spoken about treating equally and with human diversity with dignity and acceptance, and not only acceptance but valued. Then we have IDI, and of course we have the Sustainable Development 2013, the agenda, 2030 agenda of sustainable development, and of course the the 11th point is directly related to urban planning. But the other, about 6 plus 5 of these, and there are only 17, are also directly, indirectly related to the planning of cities and the country. So the laws that we have in India is, we started off with the RPWD Act 1995, which speaks about persons with disability, equal opportunities, protection of rights, and full participations. And then we go on to India becoming a signatory of the UNCRPD, which I spoke about just now. And now, I know this is unfortunate. See, the Persons with Disability Act, the first one is in 1995. The next goes to 2016. What a large gap. But that is the negative aspect of it. But the positive is, now it is taking in 21 different disabilities. And so many people can now be seen gradually in the public spaces. I come from the Department of Education, and if you see in our university, I was trying to do a count, there are almost 2,000 children with various disabilities studying at the graduate and postgraduate levels. So that means they have come out of their boxes. Now they are in public spaces. And we know of the number which has been able to get empowerment, jobs, employment at par with others, thanks to urban planning, thanks to the city where they were, it has become more accessible and inclusive. But it is not completely accessible and inclusive. The more it becomes, we get more contributing members to our society, to our country, and to the globe, and globally. So disability, person is using a wheelchair. This is leading to a difficulty in gaining employment because the physical infrastructure, the transportation, the travel gaps in transportation, the travel chain gaps in transportation. Then comes the attitude and the non-empathy, which Malika has given amazing. Wish this whole session could have been taken up by Malika and I did not have to intervene in between. That would have really explained, how our attitudes is limiting the full inclusion of persons with disability. And of course, because of this, it is also leading to environmental barriers. And we will not speak about, I'll just come quickly now to what is happening globally. All of you are very aware of the Global Future Council on Cities for Tomorrow, the City Possible by MasterCard project, the United Cities and local government initiatives, and the umbrella international organizations for cities, local and regional governments and municipal associations. from here, just a glimpse into the world that is yours, and let us see what is happening, and we are very aware of it. More, would you be able to give me far more examples here, is the vehicle related issues that are happening globally. Of course, we have these low level buses, and there is low flow and low entry with a ramp, and there is a dedicated place for blind. And in Western country, in sorry, I shouldn't say Western, in developed countries, we also have a space for the guide dog. For the people there, there is space for the infant, a chair to be fitted in, etc., etc. And in India, at least the concepts are being acknowledged, even if we haven't reached there. Of course, when we say this, there is also an important aspect that needs to be kept in mind, and that is that nothing without for this of disability without the disabled. Example that we see is the electric buses. Wonderful, no noise, less pollution, less whatever, everything else. But my students who are blind, they are saying that, ma'am, बस चली जाती है, उसके बाद हमें पता चलता है. जो non-electric buses थी, the engine was in front. It made noise. So as soon as the bus reached the bus stop, the person with blindness would say, कौन सा number है? They were able to board the bus. Now the bus has left the bus stop, and that's when the vibrations and the little noise that is there is picked up by the person who is blind or visually impaired. And then is when they ask, कौन सा number था? अब वो number तो चला गया ना, the bus is gone. So can you imagine at that level, when all these policies, this execution was happening, there was one person who had disability. So this particular point would probably have been put in, the engineers and the planners, etc., would maybe have done something about it. Probably it might be slightly late. But anyway, just an example of how it is happening. Of course, we have these already globally. The Russia has a social taxi system, but we also in India are at least taken in the idea of these aspects here. I have loved this idea, simple, but I was wondering if any city in our country has thought of this portable, movable, shaft here that we can have. Many of our bus stands in some of our metro cities have started looking like this. And I'll talk about this travel chain. You see this yellow line here at a particular point later on. Our roads and all. So here we have the zebra crossing. We do not have the tabletop crossings. The yellow part being slightly raised so the vehicle doesn't have to, the vehicle just has to slow down here. And here comes in an example which has been bothering me for a long time, and I know this must be spoken in informally, formally in your departments and over coffee, etc., is the mystery case that Dr. Pandole, who was driving at a very high speed and had those celebrity people who died in the accident and etc. The thing that that came to my mind was, of course, what's happening is okay. She shouldn't have been on high speed and the laws that have come out of it. But somewhere, perfect, I am not talking about the judgments, etc. But what came to my mind was, it was a 3-lane which was moving into a 2-lane. There were no clear indicators. And not a difficult thing to do. But we are all aware of it. But why were those indicators not there? There is a break or in the implementation processes somewhere. We are all aware of it. What are we to do, I wonder? Wonderful when you have this particular slide here, this particular picture. There's a footpath where the blind can go and the person with the wheelchair can go. But this is India. या तो पान वाली दुकान next day आ जाएगी वहाँ पर, नुक्कड़ दुकानें यहाँ पर आनी शुरू हो जाएंगी. तो ऐसा क्या हो रहा है? But at the same time, remember, we had this abhiyan, which was that split. We have that red, jab hum thukte kaun sa what gutka and all. So all our government buildings used to have that red stain everywhere. And then there was this, I'm not remembering the name of that particular abhiyan, but the spitting has definitely decreased many-fold after that. Our polio drives have been very effective. Can we have some sort of awareness, sensitization, very doable things where the public also starts looking at this and saying, oh, why is this happening? Why can't we just have this here? And is something that I would love to think about. Coming to the tiles, this is just examples that we all know. If you look at this, this is the go tile, which has the straight lines, and this is the stop tile. So if you're visually impaired, you are blind, you are neurodevelopmentally different. So you are going straight, and here there is a door here. So this particular tile is put here so that you stop, assess the situation, then you decide to move forward. But often this particular stop tile is being put here. Now, the person who is challenged keeps stopping here, stopping, doesn't know what is happening here. So now look at the same thing here. Now, this had to be these particular tiles, the go tiles. But here, what do we have? Where is that gone? What I was showing. Yeah. See, now it's not the running, it's not the street, the go tiles. Tactile tiles, they are called, because they are raised, they're called tactile tiles. Now here it is the stop, assess the situation, and then go. That is the tile that has been put here. More decorative. But the very essence of why these tiles are being put here has been lost. Of course, when I was talking about that spitting abhiyan, or I'm talking about polio abhiyan, why everything in this particular picture is, as far as the planning is concerned, as far as the architecture of this place is concerned, is perfect. There's a yellow line, there's parking written, it's visible, everything. But somebody decided to make it more decorative with these plants here. But the society, the community has done nothing about it. It's not like कुछ गलत हुआ है, किसी की आंख में भी नहीं दिख रहा है. Nobody is objecting to it. There is no sensitization to that. So when we talk about the need for social sensitization and who is to do it, here again, these are the misleading signs here, and the dead end. Dead का मतलब हिंदी में क्या होता है? Perfect. So this is exactly what it is, the dead end. These tiles are going into the river. This is going into a nala. This is there to see that your head is broken here too. So there are many others. I really need to go to this police station, chowki here, and ask them कि आपके यहाँ इतने सारे handicap लोग क्यों आते हैं? कभी आपने सोचा है? The tile is reaching to the backside of Delhi police. And there are all these examples that we see, but nobody is reacting to this. The ramp is perfect, but nobody is saying anything. Here is the guard sitting here. Where does this awareness come from? I wonder. Is it my job as a town planner? Is it somebody else's job? What do we do about this? I leave these questions here with you. And you look here this is for a handicapped person. Okay, this is a physically handicapped person. Sure, that person has to have 6x6 eyesight, because look where the signage is put. And cerams, of course, I don't have to go into this, but my point of showing these here is that, of course, here we have the harmonized guideline reports 2000, which is the latest one, the 16, which says clearly 1:12 ratio. And look here. And again, which is I'm talking about this particular, everything perfect, but this has not been put, the flower pot has not been put here by a town planner, by a city planner, by the School of Planning personnel. But why is it allowed to be here? Whose responsibility, I wonder. So here, this is what's happening. And I was wondering if we could have more and more of pictures like this, so we know there are alternatives and in public spaces. So I am not an architect, I'm not a planner, but I said, acha, aise bhi ho sakta hai. Of course, we have these receptions, and I'm going to go farther first. Of course, where there should be ramps, there are no. So, of course, the government of India has been working on retrofitting of many city buildings, and especially the government buildings, the hospitals, the heritage buildings, etc., etc. Definitely, when you go to the developed countries, you find that their heritage, not all of them, but many of them have been retrofitted with changes as and where required. And it's amazing at places where one would think that it's not possible, it has been done. I move quickly to, again here, the symbols, the symbolic signages, the obstruction of signages. I move on to the next point that we'll do is creating a greater commitment to accessibility for all organizations, section assessments. And this agenda, the argument is that humans are diverse, accessibility is a must for everyone. We need to have barrier-free and enabling environments for everyone, and without facing any physical or social environment. And going from this, we have what are called the medical model and the social model. Medical is the person who has an issue with the environment, does something to change oneself. The social model of disabilities, in very layman language, says it is the environment, the attitude of people and everyone else which needs to be synchronized to the need of that person, so that person can become a contributing member of society to the best of one's ability. So it's a rights perspective, but a rights perspective leading to more enhancement of abilities into the larger social structure. So social barriers, physical barriers, and the institutional barriers. When you talk about understanding what is accessibility, accessibility refers to a feature or quality, and it is linked with, and where we need to have accessibility is physical or virtual, space, facilities, services. Accessibility refers to the technical standard and mandated nationally or internationally. So there are technical, it's not something that you do without any parameters. It is an abstract thing which has finally being concretized into very doable, concrete aspects. And why is accessibility that matters to city planners? It decreases the rate of poverty, deprivation, and exclusion. And it is for the realization of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and other internationally agreed development goals. So it is mandatory for us to do it. Accessibility matters in city planning because it hinders rampant discrimination. It creates, lack of awareness of global standards on accessibility, and it gives it clearly identifies and dictates the role of local governments related to built and digital environment, how to monitor it, how to report it, how to enforce mechanism that can ensure accessibility. And obviously, it leads to greater coordination among all stakeholders. Uh, may I stop here for a while? And if there are any particular questions, anything that anyone would like to reflect upon, because I know we are running short of time. Gursharan, Dr. Gursharan, would you like,
Yes.
is there anyone? Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes,
Any
please.
queries are there by the participants?
अभी मैं और कवर कर रही हूँ.
हाँ जी आप you are having 6 more slides, I guess.
No, there are more to come. Yeah, so I'll just go
You can speed up, please.
Okay, I'll just speed up. So, when we talk about the universal principles of universal design, and these are the principles that we are very, very aware of. Accessible India campaign is a very important campaign, and these are the things that we are dealing with, and this is a United Nations aspect which has been given here. In India, we have focused the 3 pillars of Accessible India campaign is built up environment, transportation, and ICTE. And details are all here in the slide. What we also need to be aware, I'm sure we are aware of the institutional framework and the statutory bodies. If supposing that these are some of them, and when we are working as town planners, as planning planners, then these are the area sections of, these are the different institutions that maybe for disability we might need to refer to. And these are the different provisions of Act on Accessibilities that we have in our country. And I will just skip all the examples that we have, because I'm sure that many of us, all of you, when you put them together, there'll be so many more that we have. The references for the resources for the participants are right here. And I will just stop this screen for a short while and move on to one more slide, which I'll go much faster, one more PPT, which I'll go much faster. I hope my second slide is visible. I hope my slide is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
There is another thing that we need to understand is understanding discrimination. So this is, I've tried to put this here. Discrimination is denial of autonomy, act of violence and abuse, prejudice, disrespect. And Malika spoke about that. It causes discrimination at policy level, service levels, delivery level, lack of understanding, lack of accessibility, inadequate funding, lack of participation in decisions that directly affect our lives. And so this is exactly how discrimination tends to happen. And when we talk about engaging participation of persons with disability in policy and decision making, we need to do it at all these different levels. And holistic and, I'm sorry. So we have,
Go ahead, please.
yeah, holistic and people-centered approaches inform, engaged, and involve the persons with disability. And of course, we have the smart city aspects, but within smart city, we have to have the inclusive society, accessible society as well. And this is understanding inclusive urban policies. We are already very aware of how let us look at the last point here: inclusive urban policies, exclusion of persons with disability, the fundamental barrier, promote their independent living. Often you will find where is the need for a proper ramp? There'll be 4 people picking up the person with the wheelchair. Whenever there's a need, we will do it. Now, that is making a person non-independent. And therefore, the maximum contribution from that person does not happen. It's a very collective South Asian Indian aspect. We care for our neighbors, we care for our family much more than other societies do. But we also tend to implement that in areas such as this. The understanding inclusive urban policies and programs. So these are some can facilitate the implementation of UNCRPT through the national and regional disability strategies and plan preparation, gain information about the various sections of society, including persons with disabilities, identify and enable working with all the affected population for change, supporting people through the process of change in our urban areas. And when we are talking about realizing access and inclusion, achieved by fulfilling the obligation various national governments have towards UNCRPT, and persons with disability are a distinct resource of knowledge and experience, which can help to build resilient societies and communities. And this enables the full and equal participation in society, regardless of age, gender, or disability status. So we have the same policies put in here. And here,
slides are not moving.
the slides are not moving. They were not moving from the beginning, is it?
Yes, ma'am. They are just on understanding discrimination.
Oh, wish I had gone so much. Okay, so here I'm just putting it here. We had seen this. I've spoken about smart cities, and with smart city, the inclusion, enmeshment of accessible and inclusive society issues, and how to go about doing that. Because smart city is more about ICT infrastructure, ICT, but within that ICT, which will support persons with disability also. So if you have a technology, but the person on the wheelchair can't use it, the person who doesn't have a hand can't use it, or the person who is visually impaired does not have access to it, then automatically it is not the major one of the component of smart city. Accessible and inclusive society is not taken into place. I'd spoken about this and I read this out, and I hope my slides are moving now. Yeah. So inclusive participation by embedding accessibility in urban areas. Accessibility is to enable persons with disability to live independently and participate fully in all aspects of life. Barriers to accessibility hinder full and of persons with disability, full participation of persons with disability in society on an equal basis with others. Inclusion and effective participation in society affairs is necessary for making accessibility relevant to the lives of persons with disability. Accessibility is necessary to enrich our lives and to achieve equality. And unless persons with disability are seen in public spaces, the mean people with disabilities, their families and communities are happier socially and are better off financially. Remember, one person with disability, the entire family does not use public spaces to the extent that they should be, do not have employability to the level that they should have. So this is why accessibility matters in city planning. This is what is required. And of course, accessibility is required because, you look at here, we just need to have somebody sensitized enough to say, yeah, why has this been put up? This has been put up. So the larger vehicles can't go in. So the wheelchair also doesn't go in. And of course, we have Accessible India campaign. A whole database has been collected, and I think thanks need to be given to Mr. Sharma for this, is that he's put together the pillars, the objectives, the targets very effectively. Build environment, transport system, information and communication technology. And uh, again, if you look at the consequences, we have so many acts and policies. We are very aware of the major provisions, but we are not so aware of the consequences for PWDs. All these slides will be shared so one can go through them and have a deeper look into that to gain your own references and insight. So here, the National Urban Transport Policy, the major provisions, but what is it leading to? What are the inferences it's causing? And similarly, we have the National Transit Oriented Development Policy, the Unified Traffic and Transport Infrastructure. The purpose of inclusive planning gets defeated in the absence of skilled manpower and meaningful capacity building and participation initiatives. The National Disaster Management Plan 2019, the person with disability will be benefited well in advance of a disaster. Relevant agencies will conduct preparedness and vulnerability mapping. Repairer transportation systems for door-to-door evacuation, like accessible boats, etc., would be developed, which will be useful for persons with disability in routine life as well. Rehabilitations and reconstruction, assessing education and employment would be there. Decision making by DPOs and persons with disability a possibility. And similarly, we have the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal. We also have, of course, all other cities like Delhi has developed its own act here, the Delhi Development Authority Act. Maharashtra, this is again Maharashtra, and the act of Maharashtra, which the town planners of Maharashtra have done it, and other areas have also done it. So we have, last of all, is the digital exclusion in smart cities. And that is inclusive smart cities will therefore be an essential element for global effect of achieving the sustainable development goals, and with new smart technologies capable of unlocking energy efficiency in housing, transport, smart cities. But again, this needs to be done in considering the special needs of persons with disability. We have loudspeakers, we have ICT technology at railway stations. But the person who is hearing impaired or completely cannot hear is not able to identify very clearly. So we don't have blinkers there. We do not have signages which come up and with a particular lightning systems which will be supportive for hearing impaired, and many other things there. So solutions for aging and accessibility. So we also, when we're talking about accessibility, we need to understand that it is not only for disability, it is for the persons who are aging, the persons who have limited temporary disabilities, and so on and so forth. The narrative digital inclusions in smart city from civic chaos that incorporates universal design to the latest cloud-based accessibility features. We need to do it everywhere, and it should be citizen-driven innovatives. The involvement of the masses, the citizens, will make it easier for us. Like when we talk, the good manager is the one who is able to engage people, delegate responsibilities. We need to have PP initiatives. Smart cities do not perpetuate digital divides. Smart cities should not be perpetuating digital divides. So we have a Wi-Fi accessibility for some, not for others in the same area. And the person with visual impairment or hearing impairment or a person with neurodevelopmental disabilities has issues. Technologies are equally distributed. And so from here we move on through social innovations. So innovative approach is what is required for, which is central to delivering the SDGs for all. ICT can make previously inaccessible forms of written and spoken communication accessible to all. And there is so much of ICT and which is becoming quite reachable, quite something that can be put out into local structures, which is there. The policy structures, we are already aware of the policy frameworks. The National Informative Center, the Bureau of Indian Standards, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Communication, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Often that is not tapped adequately. Ministry of Information Broadcasting, MNOs, and ICT companies. And so we move on to the strengths in the policy frameworks, and that is, I would like to say, Chief Commissioner of Persons with Disability. I would like to just spend a little time here that everywhere we have a commissioner of persons with disability at the national level and the state commissioner for persons with disability at the state level. Often their officers are not the data that needs to be collected, the disability audit that needs to be transacted to them so that they can further use that for taking action, for seeing that changes or facilitating changes to take place is often not effectively done. And so with this we come the future area of development is to provide increased support for policy coordination, implementation, and monitoring is a priority. So we have the TRAI processed a cross-functional committee, which is led by the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disability, and the committee has been that was established with additional resourcing required to support its establishment. Of course, however, because of COVID-19 promoting a significant increase awareness of the impact of ICT solution for empowering persons with disability, there exists an increased awareness and momentum which could be built on to ensure support by implementation, monitoring, and evaluation is put in place. And so with here we come that future absence of standard procurement policy for accessible ICT. That is standard procurement policy we need to develop. Awareness of policy and existence of assistive technology
Dr.
is
Renu,
progress.
sorry to interrupt you again. Can you conclude, please?
Yeah,
So that we
and
can
so
have
I
questions.
conclude. So we talk about the disability inclusive data, which is we need to develop fast. And here we have the resources for participants that we can use further. And of course, the final, which I'll talk about here, is the SGD's thematic areas. And the SDGs are, the principles are these. And from there, I would just move on to the last part, is the resources for participants here. And I know this has taken more time than required, but thank you all the same for listening to me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for sensitizing us on this issue, that how disability leads to discrimination in the society. At the same time, I would also like to thank Mr. Parul Sharma, who is continuously giving the resources and sources, adding them in the chat box. Now I would like to call Professor Dr. Ashwini Luthra to give the vote of thanks to Madam Renu. Before that, if any participant have any query, you may ask.
If any participant is having any questions or queries, then Dr. Renu is here to clarify those. Please pose your queries.
I think the lecture was quite elaborative, where you covered every aspect, how the barrier-free environment can be incorporated in planning various global and national level issues and policy initiatives, all that have taken up very well.
There are few say observations in the message box. So I will go through if there are some questions. Guidelines. Mr. Parul Sharma has posted many references for all of us. Thank you, Mr. Parul. They would be very useful because as I was discussing with Dr. Renu that shortly our students would be taking up their thesis topics. And probably we have some students here also. So probably the thoughts given by Dr. Renu, they would be nurturing our students to explore some ideas about some thesis topics. And these references that Mr. Parul has put in the message box, they would be very useful. Mr. Parul has said that inclusive development, it means ensuring marginalized groups actively participating and benefiting from the development processes and outcomes, regardless of their age, gender, disability, state of health, ethnic regions, then sexual orientation, religion, and or any other characteristic. It seeks to address the deepening inequality and consequent lack of access to opportunities for those who are excluded from development gains and processes. In fact, he has elaborated what inclusive development means, what inclusive development includes. At the same time, he has another observation, rather explanation, that while different people and organizations understand differently what information and communication technology means, it is generally acknowledged that ICT is an umbrella term that includes any information and communication device or application and its content. Such a definition encompasses a wide range of access technologies such as radio, television, satellite mobile phones, then fixed lines, computers, network, hardware, etc. So that way, few explanations were there. And Malika Bajaj, she has said that I would like to extend my skill and help in e-learning and communication for the differently abled for our RDNs and the university. If anybody wants to reach out, please let Mr. Parul know, and will make myself available. Uh, Thank you very much, Malika. And I may tell the audience of this webinar that we are already having a plan that maybe in the month of end February or March, we would be organizing this particular session face to face, because that would give us more time to discuss the things face to face, because maybe some limitations in the network also prohibit some of us to join the webinar, because I got 2 or 3 such messages that we are not able to join. So if some such platform is there, and then the queries from the speaker would also be there, and it is where it would be more appreciable that we pose more queries, and we can always tempt the people to pose queries also. So I think there are no other questions, and if they are not, because everybody has enjoyed the talk, and it is in that light, like Dr. Gusharan already said, I should propose a vote of thanks. So I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks. And in this regard, in the first place, I would like to thank Dr. Renu for sparing her time on this auspicious day of Guru Nanak Dev Jayanti. And he had walked thousands of kilometers, and in that respect, walkability becomes very important component of transportation. And while our deliberations on different aspects of inclusivity and accessibility, I was looking at that she is citing more examples of walkability, because all those design elements and even the construction elements, they were more pertaining to walkability, because the automobile part, of course, once segregation of footpath and automobile is there, then the requirements of pedestrians should be looked into. And it is in that light, I sincerely thank Dr. Renu for deliberating on the relevant issues, and at the same time raising questions for the planners, because many a times we see that planners sometimes ignore, what I say, sometimes I would say most of the times ignore these things. And in this regard, Parul being a planner, I can always say that the master plan of each city should include one specific chapter on inclusivity and accessibility for the special people. So it is in this regard that this webinar was very pertinent, and on this day of celebrating town planning day, I think the topic is justified, and we could select a very relevant person to speak on this particular aspect. So thank you very much, Dr. Renu, and I would like to thank Mr. Parul as well for introducing Dr. Renu with us. And Dr. Renu, probably we would be troubling you in the times to come, because now you are a new resource for us, and your specialization and expertise in this line, that is much appreciated. Because few days ago, one of my students was asking that do you have any contact who is an expert in this particular aspect of disability. So somehow then I didn't know, otherwise I would have introduced you with that fellow. So maybe in the times to come, more things would come. I thank Dr. Gursharan also for moderating on this occasion, because sparing time for this particular webinar on this Chutti day, having children at home, all those things together become very, very cumbersome in a way that because I am out of my house in my office, but I can see that Dr. Sharan is at home, and I don't know how those kids are held in some other room. So thank you very much, Dr. Sharan. And I would thank Madam Bajaj also, Mallika Bajaj, for again sparing time and deliberating her personal experiences, what happened to her, and how is she coming out of that. And I've, because she is much younger to me, I can always say that she is a very brave girl, and I wish Babaji quickly recover you, and you are already back to your life. So I would say that you become better, because I still remember one Chinese uh, sentence: "Good, better, best, do not rest." And what I can see from Malika's enthusiasm is that she doesn't rest at all, and she makes everyone restless because of her thoughts. Food of thought is there, and ultimately she puts everybody on some type of research and job. Thank you, Malika, for sparing your time, and I thank all the participants for listening so patiently, and on a lighter note, without posing a question. So thank you very much, and I thank my technical team. Four or five of them are sitting in another office where all this recording and telecast is being done. Uh, I thank Mr. Arvind, Rupali, this Manik, and then Ravinder, Manav, who have arranged this telecast again on a chutti day. Thank you very much. And in the end, I would like to thank my worthy Vice Chancellor for allowing uh, to hold this webinar on this day, because in the university, whatever we do, we do bring everything in the eyes of the worthy Vice Chancellor. He should know what is happening in the university. So thank you very much, Dr. Jaspal Singh, for allowing us to organize this webinar. And in the end, thank you very much, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving us opportunity to listen this webinar.
Thank you very much. Mr. Parul, if you have something to say.
Thank you, sir. I think you said it all, and uh, I feel very overwhelmed, especially when this webinar is happening on the auspicious Guru Purab Day. And
Yes.
thanks to all the participants, this shows the commitment. कितनी प्रतिबद्धता है जो
Yes.
स्टूडेंट्स ने लॉग इन भी किया है, you know, they are sacrificing their engagements with the family or meeting their friends, and it shows their commitment. Not, it also shows their, you know, respect towards the subject and respect toward the faculty and the engagements of the university. So I think diversity is the reality. This is high time when every city designer, urban designer, architect should understand. And disability is not a part of society, but we should embrace it, because we are just one accident away from being disabled. And our grandparents, senior citizens, or our children, or women with special conditions, you know, they all experience disability in some way or the other. So I hope I am audible. So
Yes,
yeah,
you are audible.
that's what
Probably
I wanted to
Malika was signing
highlight.
something. Don't know who to whom.
Sorry, my speakers were off, but
Okay.
I think I am audible, right, sir?
Yes,
My
you
speakers
are
were off.
audible.
Oh, thank God. So yeah, thanks a lot. And without taking much time, once again, happy Guru Purab to all. And I think from today onwards, we all can be sure that whatever design we make should be inclusive in nature, because it is going to affect hundreds or, you know, thousands of lives in future. And we should not focus on retrofitting, rather we should develop accessible spaces. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Looking
much.
forward,
Thank you.
looking forward in future organizing more such webinars.
Yes, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.